Anishinaabemowin. Hi again. Note that I'll go through fairly quickly as we review all the concepts we learned about verbs. We first look at the image describing the main 4 types of verbs, not something that we needed to know or memorize, but to help us understand the big picture. Our focus for the semester was on the VAI verbs. We could say Jibakwe, he is cooking, but we couldn't use the cooking with an object. We couldn't say what he is cooking. We could say Binchige, she is cleaning, but we couldn't put an object in there and say what she is cleaning. And for this semester, we limited to the 3 singular personal pronouns, ween, neen, and geen. We did also learn a few VIIs. VIIs covered included the weather terms, the clock time, and some of the colors that we learned. Looking at the VAI, we learned 25 verbs. We learned that the root form, or base form, is in ween, third person, she or he is doing the action. And we learned how to conjugate them from present tense to past or future tense. Nokki, she or he is working. We add the gi for past tense. Ginokki, she or he worked or was working. We noki, she or he will work or will be working. And we learned that sometimes we can mean the intention of want depending on context. We learned how to add subjects to our ween statements. The subject names the specific actor of the sentence who's doing the action. Different types of nouns that we learned that could be used as subjects were a few of people terms we learned in our noun list, family members, first names that we learned how to say in Anishinaabemowin, or using actual first names in English, and animals could be actors of our sentences. Manadenda mabakwezes. Debikon gigin dasan na buzagim. Matigwakin we must se banaswe. Shange gamagong nagamo Randy. Zibin ginaba wawagwish. We learned to conjugate all of the verbs into neen form, I, first person. We learned to add the n for neen at the beginning of the verb and then the tense. In present tense, it could be do, da, di, or just the n. Nadogindas, nadija, nadaakwas, nabinchige, nagigiwe, nagizagis, nuinim, nuija. And we learned a very important rule that for neen and for geen, we need to drop the short vowel ending from the verb when the verb ends in a single a, I, or o. A, I, o. And our third and last personal pronoun we learned was geen, you. Geen works similar to neen, only instead of adding the n for neen, we add a g for geen. Again, the important rule is to drop the short vowel for neen and geen. Katokichenendam, Ganishkadis, Gadija, Gazagis, or we could say Gadozagis. For past tense, we add the gi after the g, so we have gagi, which could also be represented by ki. Either is correct. Gaginagam, kijibakwe. And we add the we for future tense, guimose, guiwisen. We learned how to formulate simple questions only. This simple question can be answered with a yes or no. We change our statements into simple questions by adding na and a, na, in the second place of the sentence. Mishkiki gamagong na kinoki, gigon ke na gos, wizokpona. Here, we kind of have 3 words ahead of the na, but jinagwashkwanakwek is one concept or one unit, yesterday afternoon. And so na going in the second place would follow the first unit, jinagwashkwanakwek. Jinagwashkwanakwek na kimose. We learned a couple of directional preverbs. Be, to come and do it, toward the speaker. O, to go and do it away from the speaker, and ne, also to go away from the direction of the speaker, but a bit more definite, as in going away from here and doing something. So we have bigiwe negwis. Giwe is she or he is going home, and we add the bi, they are going home in this direction, which basically then means coming home. Bigiwe negwis. Nagi biwisen. Debekong gionime. Nangwa nimaja. Maja is leaving. However, adding the ni stresses and emphasizes away from here. Nangwa nimaja. And we learned the augmentative amplifier that we can use as a preverb. Ch, gitche, kitche. We say gi no ki najisha. My uncle worked. We can add the augmentative to add more meaning. Gikche no ki najisha. My uncle worked very hard. Chizegeze wagajak. Gitchinoden. We learned 5 types of imperatives. This is giving directions, instructions, or commands to other people. Positive singular, telling one person to do something. Positive plural, telling more than one person to do something. Negative singular, telling one person to not do something. Negative plural, telling more than one person to not do something. And inclusive, let's do it, including me, let's do it. Onaban. Shangagamagong wisanen. Bimadabik. Nebegamagong obinchigek. Gagwamana dendamke. Gagwa damna kagwa. Nagamada. Gindasada. We learned a handful of when adverbs, days and times of days. Shkwanakwek nuigiuse. Debikong kik jinaba. Wabang wiabwa. And we learned some locations. Zibingigong kanamishomis. Shangagamagong no ki maganit. Pabwinin madabedanyan. We learned how to turn our statements into negative statements using kawin, si, together. Kawin at the beginning of the sentence and the si suffix directly at the end of the verb. Kawin nabasi. Kawin gigazi bigajesi zebet. Kawin shangagamagong nui manikwesi. We learned how to take 2 independent sentences and join them with the conjunction meanwa and or zam because. Bigiwe nagasha meanwa nishkadaze. Kawin nui masesi zam kasina. Now looking at the VII verbs that we did cover, we learned weather terms, and we learned that we could add our tense to the beginning of the weather terms, gi for past and we for future. Minogijagat, gi takea, shkwanakwek wigajate. And clock time, which is verb inanimate intransitive, we learned full and half-hour increments to just say the hour, or at such time, or it is such time. Nijo debugane, Nijo debuganek, Nijo debugganet. Nano debuganek sha'apta, using sh as a connector and apta as half. And we learned how to incorporate time into our sentences. Neo debuganek wibidagushen jamis. And lastly, the type of verbs we learned are colors. Within the colors, anandagan, we learned both forms VAI and VII. Zawaza, Muskwaza, Makadeyaza, Wapshkaza, Jaushkwaza, and the inanimate forms Zawande, Muskwande, Makadeyande, Wapshkande, Jaushkwande. Aha. And sa giisga Anishinaabemowin.